Hello again. This is the second part of the lecture of the module Service Design and Innovation. In the first part, we have seen an introducing service design and the understanding of service as an object of design. And now we start looking into the field of service innovation. Service innovation is a field of studies that is growing in relevance and relevance for different disciplines and different fields, and we can also identify different kinds and different levels of service innovation. So it's important to start getting familiar with this field, which is important also for service design. First of all, we talk about service innovation in a more relevant way because we abandon some of the myths that were originally associated with services. So the fact that service does not require construction of factories or large-scale production lines, this is not anymore true, or anyway is not relevant for its innovation capability. Services are generally associated with low productivity because are often based on labor, personal labor. So because there is a salary rise, this might lead to a cost disease in the economy, but this has not been proved, and at least there are different sectors with different productivity levels. Services are also associated with the society of servants, so the idea in a negative sense. And then somehow this idea that services are not able to produce innovation, which has been proved wrong, as we can see from what we can see also today in the economy. So services moved from being perceived as laggards, as consumers of manufacturing firms' innovation, to actually become the main engine for growth within advanced economy. So most of the employment and the value added in advanced economy comes from the service sector. So that's why there has been a growing interest in how to make services more innovative. So if we see the statistics, the recent statistics around the service sector, we can see that the service sector is the main contributor to growth and employment. So we account around 2/3 of both EU employment and value added. And this is true for specific sectors that dominate somehow the economy. This is why somehow the interest in understanding how service innovation happens as becoming one of the key areas of interest in Europe, for example, but in general. And service innovation is conceived as an engine for economic growth. And we can see in general in the economy, in society, how many companies that work in the service sector dominates our economy and becomes a model, an example for how innovation develops. So internet services like Netflix and Twitter, or industrial giants like IBM and General Electric, so retail companies like IKEA or Italy. Also in the public sector we see very significant models of innovation, and as well in the social innovation, the social sector, where we can see very interesting new forms of service models and transformation of the way we consume services. But what is a service innovation? First of all, service innovation is intended as something that creates value for customers, employees, business owners, alliance partners, and communities through new or improved service offerings, service processes, and service business models. Okay. This innovation needs to be put in practice, so it can't be just an idea, it's not an invention. Innovation is something that is put into practice and provides benefit to the organization that has developed it, but the benefits also provides added value to the customers this service is offering. So it's about value, it's about being put in practice, and the benefit it provides to different actors. Service innovation has been studied in different ways in the recent years. Initial approaches to studies of innovation were the so-called technologist and assimilation approaches, because they were equating and reducing innovation services to the adoption and use of technologies coming from the manufacturing sector. This initial understanding of service innovation then evolved in dedicated studies, so a service-oriented or differentiation approach that seek to identify any specific particularity in the nature and organization of innovation services. So understanding service innovation as something different from innovation products. And then recently there has been an emergence of an integrative and synthesizing approach that tried to create common conceptual frameworks to understand the innovation in both service companies and more traditional manufacturing, high-tech companies, to be able to create common, let's say, measures. So we had seen different phases. So there have been the formation phase of service innovation studies that were looking for specific dedicated service research, so the so-called demarcation approach. Then we saw a maturity phase where the interest moved also to try to understand how the involvement of customers as a topic of research could be considered, and also the understanding what are the different kinds of innovations happening, trying to go toward a synthesis approach of the understanding of service innovation. And now we are in a stage where we are trying to develop multidisciplinary research and service innovation, the understanding of service innovation as a multidimensional phenomenon, and the idea that we need to understand service innovation in a more synthetic way. So there's not a big distinction between product or service, but having a wider framework of understanding of innovation, including service, products, technology, and society, social innovation, so on. So given this introduction, we need to understand that, of course, when we talk about service innovation, we talk about innovation in very different sectors. So this is an example of categorization of services. Now we move from wholesale, retail, trade to hotels and restaurants, transport, financial intermediation, real estate, public administration, education, healthcare, and social work, and so on. So these different sectors, of course, have different implications when we talk about service innovation. The other aspect to consider is that we can have different degrees. So if we look at an example of innovation, we might have a radical innovation when there is a creation of a totally new product, no? So one that is defined in terms of characteristics that are unconnected with those of an old product. For example, in a traditional university, there is a new online course, no, that has never been applied, that is completely different, that is completely disconnected from the old product. Incremental change, instead, the system is changed marginally through the addition or substitution of a new element, so a new competence, a new technology, a new method, like the new automatic checkout in supermarkets, for example. And then improvement, instead, is the improving of certain characteristics without changing the structure of the system. For example, an improved registration process within the university offering. Okay, so understanding that there are different degrees. And then service innovation can be new to different things. So we might have an innovation which is new to the market. So it might be new to the local market, like introduction of car share in Milan, or to the national market, or to the global market. No? Also, maybe we have seen an innovation that is not new to the market, but new to the firm. So let's say that a business consultancy decides to introduce a design thinking offer. And so this is an innovation for the firm itself, not for the market, because the market has already been, for example, delivering design consultancy offer. Okay, so we have different levels of innovation, radical incremental improvement, and then innovation can be new to different things. And then there are the service innovation dimensions. What does it mean? That I can innovate mainly a concept of a service, or I can make changes mostly to the interface with the user, the client. I can transform part of the delivery system, or I can develop new technological options, for example. So these dimensions generally are interconnected, so it's not completely possible, let's say, to transform part of the interface and not having an impact, for example, on the capabilities. No? Or I can imagine a new concept of a service which necessarily might change some of the delivery or the client interface. Also, the technology can have a significant impact in the way the service works, is delivered, or the identity of the service itself. Okay, let's have a look at this individual dimension to understand better what do we mean. A new service concept. No? We often as designers try to imagine new service concepts, new ideas of service. It is not so much a physical product, but much more intangible characteristic of new service, like a new idea or a concept of how to organize a solution to a problem, like a new bank account, a new information service, or a new retail format, for example. No? So it does touch into the kinds of service in the offering and also in the business model. And somehow that's why when you develop a new service concept, this somehow attaches all the other dimensions. And it's a very important way to develop innovation because it gives a stronger impact to the way we also then develop and implement innovation, to have a strong idea of a new concept. Innovation can be also in the client interface, no? When we, for example, we were saying about introduction of the self-checkout in supermarkets, now is a common practice. It was an innovation at the time, and so it is mainly changes in the way clients are involved in service design, in the production of the service and the consumption. So, for example, the increase in self-service is a typical example of a transformation in the way we interact with service. So the transformation, the innovation is transforming the touch point, the so-called touch points, or the mode of interaction. Of course, this can have impact also in the organizational model. No? Introduction of these machines has made necessary maybe some changes in the organizational roles, for example, in supermarkets. More complex are changes in the service delivery system or in the organization. So innovation can bring to internal organizational arrangements that needs to be managed to allow service workers to perform their job properly, or to develop and offer innovative services. So in this case, we introduce new organizational models, maybe new internal processes, new roles, the introduction of new partners, new competencies, and somehow this transformation has an impact more in the understanding of service as systems, as complex organizations. And again, this is strongly connected with changes in the other dimensions. But sometimes innovations are stronger in the organizational side, maybe in the back office. And then innovation can refer also to the use of technology, the development of technology. Now, sometimes service companies acquire new technology from suppliers, and so they are not the ones developing the technology themselves. Some other companies are technology developers. So they are specialized so much in a specific sector that they become also themselves as innovator in development of new technology. Again, technology can be a transformative lever on many different ways, can enable the creation of new service concepts, new ways of interacting with users, as well as facilitating or optimizing some internal processes. And then there are some innovation patterns. What does it mean? That it might be that some organizations are dependent on external suppliers. So, for example, the catering companies have been influenced, for example, by the introduction of specific technology in the conservation or the preparation of food. No? So maybe they are not the company themselves, but they are dominated and affected by suppliers' innovation. Sometimes instead innovation is produced within themselves, so the actual innovation implementation take place within the service. So that maybe they have innovation units, they have research and development units, or there is a particular capability of innovation. And then we can talk about client-led innovation, when service firms are very good in trying to reach out to their clients, try to understand what are the needs, to involve them maybe in the innovation process and create an innovation that is specifically oriented and influenced by clients. Or we can have a service company that innovates through service. What does it mean? It might be that some service firms manage to improve their offering, their services, thanks to the support of an external service or company like a design consultancy, for example. So they manage to innovate through the service provision of other companies. Another kind of innovation then is called paradigmatic innovation, where innovation is affecting all the actors in a value chain profoundly. This is very rare, of course. Generally, it's associated with technological revolutions or the introduction of new technology systems, like the recent focus on the 5G potential. Surely can have a paradigmatic innovation, or the introduction of the concept of subways or other kind of technological innovations that can really have an impact of a series of actors, not just on a specific single provision, but really affect a wider system of a city, a sector, and so on. And then we can try to explore what does it mean when we talk about service innovation. We say that service innovation is something that creates value, but value for whom? Okay, so when we analyze a service innovation, we can reflect what is the value for the firm. No, the service is commercialized and creates economic value for the firm, or opens up new markets or collaboration, or create new knowledge. We can identify value for the customer, so what are the benefits of the customer, how better address their needs or improve the experience. We can identify value for the partners, so the fact that somehow service innovation can be a collective effort and can benefit different partners in different ways, or value for society or the environment. So service innovation can create value for the society, for people, for the environment in a direct or indirect manner. And finally, service innovation can be associated by mostly high-tech forms of innovation or high-touch. High-tech is when innovation in information technology can be used in solving many of the management problems in a service firm, and so somehow they dominate the way the service innovation has been developed. or in other cases, service innovation is dominated by changes in people behavior, competence, organizational models, so it's more within the human dimension of the service. Sometimes it's both. It can be an innovation and technology that is accompanied by an important reorganization change in the soft side of the service. Okay, so I copy here some of readings that you could explore more, because you will have also to develop your own short essay. It's important that you can start reading, you can start getting familiar with some of these references, and use this lecture to start creating your kind of knowledge basis to then go deeper both in the first assignment and in the second assignment. So this is the second part of this first lecture on service design and service innovation, and this will be uploaded again on YouTube, and by Friday we will instead upload the following lecture, which will go more specifically in one of the dimensions of service design for service innovation.